Well, now, hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, talking about episode 6 of Koitu So. And alrighty then. You've seen the episode. If you're here, you've seen the episode. So I'm not going to recap where it isn't applicable. A lot of interesting stuff in this episode. I had speculated at the end of my previous episode discussion video, because that episode kind of faltered a little bit for me, that this one was probably looking like it was going to, but it actually had a lot going for it. Antithetical to what I had speculated. And, I mean, am I the only one that thinks it's kind of ironic for this state run ministry, this organization, to bring in these kids and teach them about sex, give them a sex ed sort of, tutorial, trying to boost the birth rate and everything? That's why this arranged marriages thing is going on. And we're going to give them some condoms. I mean, age is a factor and everything, but if they weren't basically being browbeaten with the idea of let's go hump like bunnies after this lecture, but then they also got condoms. So, okay, I don't know. If if the government would actually give a helping hand to young mothers and such like that. Just it wasn't lost on me, the irony there. They really want to promote the advancement of sexuality and intercourse with these characters, but give them a condom. Just play up how good it feels, that kind of thing. And okay, whatever. The episode almost lost me in its opening segment. I'm like, oh no, shades of Kuzu no Honkai. I couldn't stand that show. Basically hentai in a prim and proper package. And so I dropped Kuzu no Honkai, and I didn't want anything to do with that. And this episode starts off with the dream sequence that Rina is having, and I'm just like, come on. But it was actually poignant, speaking to what I was saying about the fact that she is warming to Najima. Even in spite of herself, her denial, she's not quite wrapped her mind around the fact and recognized that she is feeling for him, much as I said was the case for Najima as well. He is warming to her. They both sort of excitedly agreed to go on a date at the end of the previous episode, and so it's we see a little more of that carrying over when they finally get around to this lecture. Before going in, they both gotten each other these little gashapon figurines and such, and he loses his mind over the one she got him, and vice versa. She warms to the one, and you got the two friends standing behind them like, did he just mess up? He ain't getting any. Well, I don't know. That remains to be seen. I thought it was adorable. It speaks to that idea that they're probably well and truly made for each other. If there's any bearing to be gained, any knowledge of this information, this input, that scientifically they've been matched on so many different myriad ratios and aspects to their mentality, their education, the kind of people they are, psychologically, all this kind of stuff. It sounds somewhat nonsensical, but the proof seems to be in the pudding, unless there were machinations that we are, as yet unfamiliar with, that were going on, manipulating things behind the scenes, which could be the case, based on one specific aspect of this episode. Well, two, arguably. They seem so well fitted to each other. They seem like a natural husband, wife, boyfriend, girlfriend pair. They get aspects of each other that they haven't even consciously recognized between them both yet. But it's coming naturally to them. Oh, I thought of getting her a little kitty figurine, and she thought of getting him the little armored guy, and they're thinking of each other. She's having these salacious dreams as a processing of that mentality. Her brain is like 3 steps ahead of her and has to catch her up, in a sense, with that cognizance of, hey, it kind of could work out. Don't be so reluctant to push and to shoo Najima away. Or rather, don't be so pushy, to push him away. Don't be so reluctant to embrace him or consider him. And I just thought they were adorable together. Where, he and Takasaki being together, I mean, it's all just sort of that reactionary animal passion thing that's so fleeting. It's in the moment. It seems like, the whole world revolves around Takasaki for Najima and vice versa. Maybe not quite sure, as I have spoken about before, where Takasaki's coming from, if she's actually well and truly genuine about her interest in Najima. But at least for his part, man, the animal passion is there, the heated loins and such, but that's not enough. That's the whole rhyme and reason of why this was implemented and why presumably these two characters in Najima and Rorino were put together, because the compatibility. There's much more satisfyingly in a long-term scenario that can be built between them. And so that, to me, is captivating. And then, of course, the lecture. But before we even go back to that, because there are two very interesting aspects going on. There's thunder outside as I'm recording this. I don't know if you heard that. But there's two interesting aspects to do with the lecture. But before we get on to that, what was with Nisaka? Nisaka was called in. Basically, I assume, given the heads up on what this lecture would entail, he definitely seems to know what it entails. And I found myself wondering, because we don't really know. He is so far an enigma. He is a walking question mark. He may not even be a he. He could be a she. He could be a ladyboy. He could be a transvestite. He could be out and out gay, homosexual. It's hard to pin it down just yet. Until that is revealed. But with all the speculations I've been putting forth, I at first had thought, when he pieced together that Najima and his buddy, they were going to be going to this thing, his astonished, taken aback reaction was because he'd been told, well, you're not going to participate in this because this is for heterosexual couples only, and you're exempted, or something like that. Or it was going to be an anti-gay thing. Like they were going to try to be programming mentalities. If you have any sort of interests in same-sex, hookups or anything like that, no, we're not going to have that. And so he'd be exempted in that, framework as well. And I thought it was going to be something much darker and a little more twisted than what it ended up seeming to be, which was he was called in for whatever reason. I think he was given the heads up about this, and for whatever reason, whether it's because he hasn't been matched up yet, or maybe his reaction was because he's already been matched up and he just hasn't said anything, remains to be seen. Maybe it's he and Takasaki, as is the popular most speculation point about that dynamic between he and Takasaki. Why, Takasaki and Nisaka might not be gelling, why they keep seeming to be perturbed with each other and giving each other such, dagger looks at each other and stuff like that. But it stood out to me, Nisaka's reaction. Like, what was in that reaction? Why was he called in to be told about it, if not that he is, for whatever reason, exempted from it? And you can come up with a bunch of different things. I had said in a comment, pointing back to, I think it was on my last episode discussion video, but I think it was maybe 2 episode discussion videos ago, where I mentioned that I had been told, I had been given the heads up in a comment about the OP, where in one particular scene you see Nisaka in feminine clothing, basically looking like a woman. And so I had said everything from, is Nisaka really a girl and she's been tomboyish and just took on the persona of being male? Is Nisaka actually a homosexual young man? Is he transgender? What is going on there was my overhanging question. And especially looking at that, the ladyboy thing comes to mind, and I had speculated in a comment along the lines of, could it be, as far as why he and Takasaki seem to have such a rivalry, for lack of a better term, is maybe she stumbled onto that. Maybe she's also been in the trade of being like a hostess at one of these hostess club, bar, restaurant type things, and there was Nisaka as well in drag or wearing natural clothing to his gender or whatever like that. I mean, it could go a myriad different ways. I really have no idea. But that reaction that he gave when finding out that Najima and his buddy were going to be going and attending this lecture says to me he knew what it was about, but we haven't seen him participating in it. He was called in specifically regarding the lecture, so he must not have been able to participate for some reason. Is the only logical thing that occurs to me that I can think of. And the way he reacted was shades of shock, as well as maybe good humor, good spirits, like, oh crap, Najima's going to partake in this, and maybe even you could almost read, hesitation, like, oh no, Najima will be pushed further and further away from anything I could bring to the table, as far as interest goes between them. I don't know. Long time to ramble about Misaka, but it's so fascinating that he knew what was up. It's just how and why is the remaining question. Getting back to the actual lecture, I mentioned those two potential intriguing aspects, and that is the chick that Najima sees walking in. I forget the name he speculated was hers, but they have a history. They knew each other in the past, elementary school or whatever. And she does take note of him, but she doesn't say anything. There's no words passed between them. Later in the control room, she's apparently operating security cameras and such like that. Probably the film that's going to play and the lighting and everything like that, feeding information to the host chick. And there's some debate before the host chick goes out about, I guess, sort of the validity of this and it's being a well-oiled machine. It's, the proof being in the pudding that it works. These arranged marriages, setting them up and everything like that. And this chick pointedly notes Najima on the cameras and says something like, would you agree with that, Najima? That it works? That it feels good? And immediately, I went back in my mind to episode 1 when he got the message saying Takasaki, or at least he thought that's what it said. It's still arguable whether it actually did because the screen was all screwy and staticky. So he could have been misreading the kanji of the name and thought it said Takasaki when it said Rorina, or something like that. Before the two ministry people showed up and handed him the documents saying, no, it is Rorina, you're not getting with Takasaki. So that line that this chick said, pointedly directed without his knowledge to Najima, do you agree? Do you think it works? Do you think this is working? It almost suggested to me that maybe she had a hand in the puppet mastery, the manipulation behind the scenes, putting Najima with somebody else that he wasn't originally meant to be with. Like maybe he was originally meant to be with Takasaki and she shifted it over to Rorina, or because of some former friendship or acquaintanceship with him, she, there was like, they didn't really get along and she was kind of bullying him and she sent him the message saying it was Takasaki, only that then have it revealed that no, it's actually Rorina. Like she was trying to get a jab in to Najima, mess with him, make him think the pinnacle of what he wants and desires and dreams is real and it's legit and you're going to get everything you want with this arrangement of marriage with the woman you most want. And then it was all false. It was all a lie orchestrated by this chick, maybe working in tandem with some of the other ministry people, state-run organization people. No idea. And then the other leg drops as well with the guy, which is the third, the second in the lecture, portion of the episode that is interesting to me. But the third aspect overall in the episode, you had Nisaka, you had the girl, and then this guy who comes up to him and pointedly sits down next to him and gives him this suggestion because he seems to know well enough that Najima has this problem, this internal dilemma. Do I go with my lust, which I think is love? Do I go with the where there is no love, this girl that has been shoved in my face and forced down my throat? not yet, but soon. With sort of the threat, the unspoken implied threat that unless you get with her and do the nasty, because we're going to be watching, trouble could ensue. And then you got people speculating and gossiping in the crowd like, oh, wow, we could go to jail or we could be penalized or punished if we don't bang. And, even though a couple of them already have been. But if we don't tonight, trouble will ensue and all this stuff. They're going to bring you in. They brought my friend's sister in or whatever, that kind of stuff. And, then you hear as he's parting, oh, just kidding. So he's trolling. He's trolling Najima, but Najima thinks this is legit. This is the brass tacks. If I don't get with Rarina, and they end it with that cliffhanger where it's like, I wanted to know what the hell he was going to do. Because it seems like Rarina is very, very poised to embrace her own curiosity here. All of that information, and he's sitting there this pristine virgin has no idea. She's never seen a sexual film or, pornography or anything. Whereas he has apparently partaken, But, could she just be so enamored by the facts? No, it has nothing to do with the fact that, it feels good. It could feel really, really good, as this woman is telling them. Her curiosity is well and truly raised. And I leave this episode thinking, damn, if he puts the moves on her, it's a done deal. She's going to be right there with it. Because she's had those dreams. Even though she's in denial about it and trying to push that away, because she does have sort of that naivete, that pristine idea of, we'd be no better than monkeys. We'd be no better than the animals, just humping with blah, blah, blah. But she's starting to consider that there is a rhyme and reason to this, that they have been paired up because of compatibility, that they have things in common, that they feel, they're just beginning to feel an attraction toward each other, but that can grow into something really solidified and really legit between them because they have been so well matched, allegedly. And it's got her curiosity, well and truly raised. And, it didn't look to me like she was going to push him off from her by the end of the episode. Now, that remains to be seen. You look at the PV, and he seems to be pointedly, heatedly talking to the ministry guy who trolled him, and I wonder if that's not, you were joking? What I did last night, and you were joking? That kind of thing. Man, I don't know. This show, man... this episode was very engaging, drew me back in, well playing into my hit and miss thing where it's like, first episode was great, second episode, blah, third episode, great, fourth episode, blah, fifth episode, now we're at episode 6, and I was like, whoa. So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how this is going to play out. I have no idea. And I am as tentatively at the edge of my seat to see where this is going to go. Because it looks like it's going to, pick up from where this episode, the compelling nature of this episode all throughout. Where it left off. The next one, it seems like it's going to pick up with that. And hopefully it will be just as engaging and compelling. But man, it was comical. I mean, she's sniffing the condom. What is this? Is this gum? What flavor? And it's got the little hand sign, swing, whatever like that. And just, it had me grinning and laughing, but at the same time, it was like, ooh, what's this with the chick? Having a pointed directive toward Najima as if she's pulling strings or something. The guy trolling Najima on purpose. And then Nisaka, because we don't know what is going on with Nisaka. His reaction, he knew what was up. But what is up? I want to know. So I'd love to hear from you guys what you thought of this episode. If you made it to the end of this video, you have a virtual cookie handed to you now. And just love having that conversation, speculating, ruminating, such like that. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.